Hello, welcome to Cerulean Arts Gallery. Tonight we're speaking with Carol Taylor-Kearney in conjunction with her Cerulean Arts Collective Exhibition, which is on view now through March the 9th. Hello, Carol.
Hello, Michael.
Thanks for being here tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
So tell us about your show.
Well, my show began with a complaint. I called you and was upset because I couldn't figure out how I was going to put this show together. And you made a suggestion that maybe I mix some older work with some newer work, and that would be a good idea. And it was brilliant. And so thank you for that.
You're
This is one
welcome.
of the newer pieces. It's called Tree of Life, and it incorporates embroidery and some fabric flowers along with regular old painting. And there's a little bit of print in there too. So as I said, some are older, some are new. Most of the pieces on this wall are mostly new. This is called Armored after Margaret MacDonald. And you can see embroidery up there. There is print and some painting, as of course. And Margaret MacDonald is an artist from Glasgow who is part of the Art Nouveau movement. She was at that time. She was more famous than Clint. She and her sister, Frances, and that's the other portrait, self-portrait. So I did a series of self-portraits after artists I was thinking about. This is Butterfly Hand, and I think that's pretty apparent. So the hand that's up on the woman's mouth is similar to the hand that is pointing and a butterfly has landed on it. And it's a hopeful piece.
So these are the most recent things, yes?
Yes. Yes, I'm starting to incorporate things like women's traditional mediums, such as embroidery, watercolor, and the like. This is Frances. This is after Frances MacDonald, and it's called Romance. And Frances married another artist from Glasgow. So did Margaret. But by the end of her marriage, it was not a very happy marriage. And she went from romance to doing a lot of artwork based on women being trapped. So you can see my version of one of her paintings where the woman is trapped in a tower, or women are trapped in a tower. And of course, butterflies are always symbols of hope. And right now, I just keep on thinking of the spring.
And you have a lot of techniques in these pieces.
Yes, and I guess to a certain extent, that's part of the point of these pieces was I I I get bored with just painting. That's a terrible thing to say because it isn't just painting and there's nothing to be boring about it. But I find other ways that people have used paint. So with these, I'm using prints, paint, and then I go back in and embroider, which is why my hand is is arthritic right now because I've been doing a lot of embroidery. These are also some pieces from the last year and a half. This is acceptance hand, which an open palm facing up usually is. I like the nails on that. I pretended that I actually have nail polish on my nails, but I never do. This next one is called Cloistered. And this is after a nun who was a famous artist at her time. And in order to be a famous artist during the Renaissance, women would go into the nunnery, usually a cloister. And so the rabbit fencing I made into the shape of San Marco, which was the cloister she belonged to in Florence. She was quite famous at her time and has been newly rediscovered. And you can see embroidered over me is one of her paintings. And these were large scale.
So,
And
Carol, it seems like most of your work has a narrative quality to it.
even in my artist statement, I admit to it, I'm a storyteller. And although you can go beyond the story and see metaphor, or you could also see autobiographical details about me, they're hidden because I'm a secretive person. It also, there's stories. This is Duality after Edmonia Lewis, who was a 19th century sculptor who's quite famous. Sculpture she's known for is that one right on the screen right now, which is the death of Cleopatra. It was in the Centennial in Philadelphia, and then got lost. Spent some time as a grave marker for a horse, and was rediscovered in a mall
In a
by the
mall.
Boy Scout, who painted it white. Now it's at the Smithsonian. So as you can see, with this body of work, I do a lot of research. That's an abolitionist. Edmonia was a Black artist and who could afford to go to Oberlin College. Her brother made it affordable. Unfortunately, she got badly beaten at Oberlin College and then moved to Boston. So I think in everyone's life, there's a little bit of duality. We have so many identities. These are what I'm better known for, I think. The reverse painting on glass, on windows, that these are old windows that I make into my version of paintings. In reverse glass painting, you paint on the back of the glass in order to look through the glass to see the scene. This was a day at Stowe. These are based on photographs that I revived and then used as subject matter. They do tell a story. And the cutouts of that you'll see through them, some of it's screen, like up in here, with little figures. And some of it you can see on some of the leaves and some of the foliage that I include are cut up pieces of the pictures that I took that day that I based the scene on.
This is your family.
Yes. And
And the
the
title is Memory is a Vortex,
what was
right?
that?
The title is Memory is a Vortex.
Yes, and so the figure above with the hand to the head they're all me. So it's my memory and how you can get wrapped up in memory and it can go over and over and over in your brain. So you're revisiting the day over and over and over. Plus, I believe in the multiverse. So, something happens here and it has one outcome, but it could have another possible outcome in the timeline of life, space. This one's called Mass Moment.
Of inertia.
Yeah, of inertia. I call it mass moment, but yeah, mass moment of inertia, which has to do with balance. And it's a mathematical and physics grouping of words, a mass moment. And it has a lot to do with how trapeze artists stay on the trapeze holding that pole because you spread it out across so the balance is more consistent.
So why did you choose the windows as your support as opposed to just a canvas?
because I had a lot of them. It comes down to something that's simple. Um, what I was doing is I had been doing paintings on canvas, a lot of them very large scale, and I was also teaching, and I had picked up windows to use as palettes. And in collecting the palettes, I saw what was put at the top, which is helpful to artists, because if you flip it over, you can see what it'll look like when you do different kinds of mixings. So you could see what your palette is. And because of that, I realized how beautiful this was. So I started looking up about reverse painting on glass and came up with my own way of doing it using oil paint. What you need is some kind of acidity to the glass so it can accept the paint, and a medium mixed with the oil so that it glues on. And the medium is resin, and anybody who knows anything about mediums can say, oh, that's liquid. Liquid is resin. And so if you let your paint dry out a little bit and you add liquid to it to revive it, you get a nice consistency for painting.
Then you have to paint from front to back.
Yes, because it's reversed, whatever the viewer will be seeing is the first thing you have to paint. And that what that usually means is if it's a figure, you paint the nose in and the cheekbones and the chin, and then you start filling on from there. Where if I was doing it on canvas, I would do the underpainting in the color that would help push the the skin tone forward, and then you build on top of it. And I always leave the eyes to last. Why? I guess it's a Modigliani thing. You know, I don't want it looking back at me while I'm making it.
It's a tricky thing to do, to paint front to back like that.
It started off being tricky, but the biggest thing is that make sure you put a piece of white paper on the front, because you're looking through the glass the whole time and all you see is the rest of your room. So you have to put white paper on the front or something that you could see what you're putting down in order to go and actually see what you're doing. This is Big Bang. So that's a picture of me, and then me as a scientist, and then me, well, not me, then a muse walking through. That's me, and then supposedly me. I think I look taller in this than I really am. And then there's the muse. And then what I really like is the explosion at the top. Because let's face it, creativity in any field is a matter of that moment of boom. Oh, and the little pieces of glass that make me up are from a car window that got shattered. I still have a lot of those pieces. Can't wait to use them some more.
So in your studio, do you have all these various materials organized, or are they like whatever's at hand? Like, as if you want to do something, do you know where to look for it, or do you just grab what's there?
Um, I know what to look for, but I've just moved my studio because I moved into a new house. And so I'm still finding more boxes of more stuff. But as I pull things out, it makes me think of a specific story or something that I want to do. So it triggers something in me to become creative. This one is after spending a day at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. So each little part in my studio, I think a lot about artists and I read a lot about art and artists. And after being at the Philadelphia Museum of Art and walking through all the rooms, that's my Duchamp. Um, I go and I was thinking of my studio I had hit a wall as far as subject matter. I was getting bored. That's my surrealism exploding. Um, so I go and think about things, and all of a sudden I came back from the museum and I thought, you know what, you could do each one of these sections. It's the same view, kind of, and each one is after some area of the museum I visited that day. And I had an electrical box in there and it needed to be rewired. So they gave me some of the wire from it. And of course, these things, once you peel away the outside, you have all these wires inside. So it's easy to sculpture into a hand. And I think of a lot of things that I do in the studio, I think of as a stew. It's a mix. So it's a studio. None of that. The song Studio.
Huh.
And listen to too much Genesis.
So stew like STEW, right?
Right. So it's cooking and cooking. I cook with my brush. This one I've shown with you before. It's called Patterns. And it's patterns of walking back and forth and through and out and in my studio. And then all those words up there are pattern and a synonym for it.
It's pretty packed with information.
Yes. Well, I did it at the Vermont Studio Center, so I was pretty packed with information. And in the little cabinet in the front, which actually has another picture of that studio on it so you can make more sense out of it, is a secret surprise. Those are the clothes I wore while I was there. So I would sit and paint and work on it and then just cut off a piece of my clothing that day and fold it up and tuck it in. Everybody should have, a cabinet of curiosity. And so this is my cabinet of curiosity.
I mean, sometimes work like this that's so dense and using like found materials is considered like outsider art.
It can be, depending. Outsider art is a difficult term because usually they try to use it for people who supposedly are untrained. So if
Right.
you, like Henry Darger, but if you look into his background, that's not necessarily true of all outsider artists. But and also for outsider art, they are also trying to do something that connects to the spiritual. I wouldn't necessarily say that I am purposefully trying to channel God, but
Right.
I would say that what I'm trying to do is give people a multiple vision of what is possible, what's there, that it's there and it's in their head, and somehow these things can collide to make something that someone else can see and it can be there and then in their head.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I think your aesthetic is very different than, what would be termed like outsider. So it's not that. I think the reference would probably be superficial until people really get into your piece and see
well, I
that,
would
you
never,
have, yeah.
yeah, I would never, outsider art is a term, like I said, that's often used by art historians and critics. And the artists themselves were trying to create a world that in some way channeled the spiritual. And I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm trying to channel the spiritual with this, but I am trying to give it's a flat out story at the same time. it is connecting to art history. It connects to my own personal story. And for me, I hope that people find in it something that connects to them. And there's so much in there. Why wouldn't it?
Right. Well, it's interesting that it toggles back and forth between a lot of different genres and styles and
Mhm.
aesthetics, that it's traditional but not, it's narrative. So it covers a lot of different things.
Well, Arthur Danto said that we were at the end of art. And what the end of art means is not that art has stopped and there is no more art, but that the walls between what was fine art and craft and all of these little nooks that they had to be this or this or this or this, they've been broken down. And artists are now free to go into anything that they want and take any material and any means. The point is for them to get it communicated. What I think artists have a need to communicate in the way that they do, whether it's music, visual, culinary, dance, and but you can go toward any of those things and bring them in. The last one was me, myself, and I. So those are portraits of me in 3 different styles. So iconic, traditional, and I say Picasso because most people recognize it from that, but it's Cubist. And this one tells more of my secrets than most things. I had a lot of infusion sets for my insulin pump and other materials laying around, and I found this window that didn't have a window on part of it, and it did on the other part. And I thought, why not make a loom? So I made the loom out of infusion sets and then wove the the materials, mostly ribbons and stuff that you could crochet, and yarns through it, and and then added more pieces of stuff that I use to control my diabetes. And then I put a piece of screen on the back and then painted that because, as Mark Tansey did, you can paint on the window, but you can also paint on the screen. And there are many cities that are celebrated for their painted screens. So you have a window, you have a screen, you might as well put them together. And these are just different pieces and things that I picked up at the time and added to it because it is a story of my living within a couple of days. So it's immediate paraphernalia.
Take one last look around.
Good stroll.
Well, it's a great show, Carol. I always enjoy your shows.
I hope you enjoyed hanging them. I tried to keep it simpler this time.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Well, you always do such a beautiful job of curating, and you and Tina, and and I really do appreciate because it's been a rough 2 years for me, and
No.
um, and even now, I mean, sometimes I think I'm just a little off here. But it was really, you really gave me a good idea, and it made me go through some of the stuff that I've done, as well as some of the stuff that I am doing and hope to continue to do.
Well, we support you and support your work.
Thank you, and I feel supported.
And the show is up through March 9th. We hope people come down to check it out. And everything's also available on our website, ceruleanarts.com. And thanks again for being here and have a great night.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Tina.
Take care.
You too.